In my last video, I explored the sound of melodic minor as a mode in itself. Same going up and down. And I wanted to continue the song I was writing in the sense of showing an example of how to write a complete song using this sort of modal writing. Usually you don't stick to one mode for the whole song and one key for the whole song. You move around, you borrow from parallel modes, you modulate to parallel modes or relative modes. There's two main ways of modulating to something different to spark up the interest of a song. You can move to a parallel mode, as in go from a melodic minor to a Dorian, for example, or you can move to a relative mode, going from a Dorian to G Ionian, for example. Alright, so first let's explore a parallel mode modulation. So in continuing the song I was writing, I let the melody guide me. I let the song lead me to where it wanted to go. And it led me from a melodic minor to a Dorian. And as you can notice, the difference between melodic minor and Dorian is just one note. Melodic minor has a natural 7. And Dorian has a flat 7. I find that modulating to a scale or mode that differs by only one note feels very natural and sounds very smooth. So here's the basic chord progression in the bridge of the song that moves to a Dorian, which starts on the E major chord from the previous passage in a melodic minor that leads us back to a minor, then F sharp diminished, and then G. That's where the Dorianness really fully emerges. Because in a melodic minor, the chords would be A minor, F sharp diminished, and G sharp diminished. It sounds okay, and there's good voice leading that leads you back to that A minor, but to my ear, what the song wants here is the mellower sound of that flat 7 major chord, the G. It really has a much smoother feel. To really demonstrate this, here is the bridge if I force that G sharp natural 7 to stay in a melodic minor.
Silently weeping, all of your love. Are you lonely? You are lost.
That G sharp diminished is pretty harsh, especially on that last chord where the choir comes in. It's like, ouch. Now let's flat that 7 and go to A Dorian. Here's what it sounds like.
Silently weeping, all of your love. Are you lonely? You are lost.
Ooh, it sounds a lot more mellow and in tune with the emotion of the song. And that transition from melodic minor to Dorian is super smooth. And note that we're not really changing keys. We're still in A minor. It's just a melodic minor versus a minor Dorian. And now let's address the second type of modal modulation you can do, the relative modulation. So here, when we hit that G at the end of the bridge, we're entering a new section. And in that new section, we're going to use G as our tonal center. So we're moving from a Dorian to the relative mode G Ionian, or just G plain natural major. So as you can notice, A Dorian and G Ionian contain all the same notes. It's the same scale essentially. It's just that the tonal center is different. A Dorian has A as the tonal center and G Ionian has G as the tonal center.
Are you lonely when you are lost in your...
So when we hit that G, we're fully in G Ionian here. We've moved to the relative mode of G Ionian major. But there is a twist. When you modulate to a relative mode, you can always go from that new relative tonal center to any of its parallel modes. In this specific example, I'm going to move from G major and then hit a B major chord. That means I'm borrowing from the parallel mode of G Ionian augmented, which is one note away from G Ionian. We just sharp the 5. So if G major is this, then we sharp the 5 and we go to G Ionian augmented. Simple as that. And the function of this is that that sharp 5 is going to pull you up to that minor 6 chord, the E minor, very well and very passionately. Well, passionately, let's go with that. And you can clearly hear in the bars where I hit that B major chord that we're in G Ionian augmented. Here's a demonstration of me playing the appropriate scales on each of those chords. Playing the scale over the chords really helps us figure out in which mode or scale we're in on each specific chord. Of course, we could have chosen many different scales on that B major, but to my ear, to what the song wanted to me, that G Ionian augmented sounded really good and sounded exactly in the pocket of what I wanted to hear. It's all about listening to your ear. Sounds really weird if you think about it. Don't think too much. I mean, go with what sounds good to you. To give you an idea of how smooth those kinds of modulations really are, here's the full song, which starts in A melodic minor, then modulates to the parallel mode of A Dorian, and then modulates to the relative mode of G Ionian, which borrows from the parallel mode G Ionian augmented. And then the song settles back into A melodic minor and resolves on that final A minor chord after a E7 dominant chord. And you don't really notice any janky modulations. It's all pretty smooth and feels very natural.
Crazy
In this series in which I explore modes and scales to compose with, I'm finding more and more how it's freeing to know all those possibilities, because I'm more able to go from one parallel mode or relative mode to another very smoothly and very intuitively the more I use them. You might think that knowing a lot of theory might bog you down and might make the writing process more theoretical and cold, and that's not it at all. The more you use them, the more they come out intuitively, and it's like a writer knowing more words. If he wants to express something and doesn't really have the word for it, he's going to use a less good word, and he's not going to be really able to express exactly what he means.
Marge, where's that metal dealie you used to dig food?
You mean a spoon?
And this feels similar, as in now that I have more modal vocabulary, I find myself intuitively moving from mode to mode in a very natural and emotional way. I know more words and possibilities, so I find myself going outside my usual habits a lot more easily. I find it easier to express myself musically, and if that's not good, then I don't know what is. See you in the next one.